Hello everyone, thank you for coming and listening. My name is McDonald. My project this year was battery-powered chainsaw productivity in thin-to-waste operations. All right, so why did I want to do this study? There you go. My motivation was, over summer, I got to work with a bunch of thinning crews because I was doing a study with Campbell and Ring, and I found these guys to be a great bunch of people. And I thought if I could help these guys out anyway, I'd feel really good by doing that. I have a bit of experience in using a chainsaw in steep places. I did a summer of wilding pine removal, and I learned that these chainsaws can be pretty heavy when you're using them all day in steep places. So if I could find that these lighter electric chainsaws were just as productive, that would be an advantage for these guys. One of the things that I found over summer was the electric chainsaws have a much lower noise output than the petrol chainsaws, and that's just a great health and safety aspect. These electric chainsaws are better for the environment. They don't use any fuel, and they're just easy to use. They don't have any ripcord to start. They're lighter. They have a push button to go. So they have plenty of advantages going for them. All right, so I mentioned I did a study over summer with Campbell and Rain. The results from this, firstly, I'll point you towards the table at the bottom. This shows that the electric chainsaws are over 10 times less noisy than the petrol-powered chainsaws, because this goes on a logarithmic scale. This results in the electric chainsaws needing only class 1 hearing requirements or hearing protection requirements versus the petrol needing class 4. An interesting result from what we did over summer comes in this figure up the top here. This shows that the electric and petrol chainsaws had very similar productivity outputs in stands that had larger stump sizes, versus in stands with smaller stump sizes, they're quite spread out and had a much larger difference. This goes against what the operators were saying, as they commented that the petrol chainsaws were far better in the larger stumps. So I wanted to further look into this productivity. So how did I do this? I set up 2 different trials. My first trial, I gave two still MSA 220C electric chainsaws to 2 experienced thinning operators, and I observed them using them, as well as their normal petrol chainsaws, which were the still MS 462s, and I filmed them, as well as I gave them some clickers and recorded their start and stop times to get a trees per hour rate. I set up a second study where I had some logs on a stand and cut biscuits off them that were about 2 centimeters wide, and I filmed myself doing this. I did this with the same electric chainsaw and also a petrol chainsaw. When I was analyzing it, I was using this diagram to do so. This diagram shows a red and a white area. The total red area is the same area of the circle as the white area, but when you're cutting through it, the length along the bar engaged in the wood is much shorter within the red area, and I wanted to see if this made a difference, as this could likely correlate to which chainsaw would be faster in a smaller size tree versus a larger one. So, what results did I find? I found felling time results, cutting rate results, and total productivity results. So firstly, felling time. What did I find? On average, the petrol chainsaw took 10.1 seconds to fell a tree, and the electric took 23.3 seconds to fell a tree. Showing you all the data I got versus the stump diameter which the tree was cut from, the electric chainsaw is much more influenced by stump diameter than the petrol chainsaw is. This correlates well with what the operators were saying to me, that the petrol chainsaws were much better in the larger tree sizes, but goes against what we found over summer with the petrol chainsaws being quite similar to the electric chainsaws in larger tree sizes. Cutting rate. What I found here is that the cutting rate of the electric chainsaw was only about half that of the petrol chainsaw. Although, when I adjusted this for the power output, I actually found that they were very similar. In forest, the cutting rate of the electric chainsaw is actually slightly better on a per kilowatt basis, and in my controlled study, only slightly worse. If you remember that diagram I showed you before, the red and white areas, I was able to show that both chainsaws perform better when they had more teeth engaged in the intersection, showing that in the larger stumps, they have a better centimeters squared cut per second rate. So how does this translate to total productivity? Well, in the top table there, you see the petrol chainsaw is cutting at 87.7 trees per hour, and the electric chainsaw fells about 49.8 trees per hour. So this is not quite, the petrol chainsaw is not quite double the rate of the electric chainsaw. But when you observe the felling times, the total time for the electric chainsaw, including pre-felling, which is like taking some limbs off the tree to make it cutting easier, planning the felling, dealing with hang-ups and any delays, took 43.7 seconds per tree, versus the petrol chainsaw took 19.5. This shows that the petrol chainsaw takes about half the time on an individual tree than the electric chainsaw. But this does not fully show in the trees per hour rate. A really good comment I had from one of the operators was that it felt a lot easier when felling with the electric chainsaw. So I think a further study would be good to show if the operators need a bit of a breather when going in between the trees with the petrol chainsaw to at the same level of exertion. Therefore, because they're a bit slower between the trees, that rate is not quite proving to be twice as fast. In summary, the battery-powered chainsaws are slower to fell, but did prove to be similar when cutting smaller trees. The cutting rate of the battery-powered chainsaw was very similar on a per kilowatt basis, and the total productivity of battery-powered chainsaws is currently less than petrol. However, with more powerful battery-powered chainsaws, which are coming out, this gap could be closed very soon, and all the benefits of going electric could be realized.